All right, let's see here. So we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we've got a lot to talk about in our live stream. This is a big week for all of the crypto space, a historic week. We're going to talk about that in this video, why that's important, what you need to understand. There's actually several things happening on the calendar this week that you need to pay attention to. We're going to look at a lot of other updates that have happened in this space since our live stream on Friday. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just subscribe. Turn on notifications. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. We're going to take a quick look at the crypto markets. You know, there's a lot of green on the charts over the past several days. So we're going to look at that, answer some of your questions, and a whole lot more. So if you're around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master, step-by-step, start to finish, land your first blockchain job, I can show you how to do that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We've got Dale, Kodia, technically above Realty, Adam, hi, Jay Lee, Ardal, Tina, Landon, Sunil, Nate, Chess Bro, Q Rich, Mark, Keith, Matthew. Welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. So this is a big week for the entire crypto space, really for one primary reason, okay? But there are other things definitely going on this week that are going to make it a big week ahead for the crypto space as well. So the first thing, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might have guessed what I'm going to say here. But if you're brand new or you aren't in the know, we have the Ethereum merge coming up this week, okay? We're going to look at exactly when that's going to happen and what you need to understand, okay? So the Ethereum merge is one of the biggest events in all of crypto's history. It is really the biggest event in Ethereum's history, okay, since its initial launch, okay? So the merge is basically Ethereum, the number 2 cryptocurrency by market cap on a website like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko.com, the leading blockchain smart contract platform, okay, by many metrics, making the biggest upgrade in all of its history, replacing proof of work mining with proof of stake, all right? Or you can basically stake your cryptocurrency to the network in order to validate transactions to secure and run the blockchain, okay? So this has been a very long time coming. There's many people who have said, hey, this is never going to happen, okay, that the merge is, that Ethereum 2.0 and proof of stake is just an idea, that it's all a scam, they're never actually going to deliver it. Well, we're going to see that actually, that switch turn on in just a few short days, okay, this week. So, up until this point, I've talked about this many times on the channel. There's so many reasons to be excited about the merge because, it's going to have some significant supply and demand implications for ETH, like once the merge turns on, okay? In my opinion, there's more reasons to hold ETH because you can stake it natively on the network, okay? I know that won't have withdrawals enabled for several months after the merge, okay? But for, big players, particularly like institutions, having more reasons to buy an asset that is significantly below its all-time highs, that has a high likelihood that it will appreciate in price over the long term, and also has native yield on the network itself where you don't have to stake it in some sort of sketchy smart contract that somebody made in their bedroom, and then also that the yield is not going to just dry up and then you have to go chase a different yield. No, you can get long-term yield on a very blue chip asset like ETH, where you have a high degree of likelihood that the principal is going to increase over time, the cryptocurrency that you're depositing, and that you're not going to get a rug pull exit scam from the blockchain itself. So that's huge compared to all the other alternatives out there in DeFi, okay? So anyways, that's the supply, that's the demand side of things. From the supply side of things, ETH is most likely going to be deflationary on very, long-term time intervals, okay? Basically, we have fee burning on ETH now, and as long as the network activity stays the same as it has been on a past 18-month basis, okay? Over long periods of time, it goes up and down, but if you average it out and that continues to increase, then ETH will most likely be deflationary because we're going to be producing less ETH every single year. And all those things combined will make a perfect storm to where you'll see appreciation in the Ether price over a long period of time. Again, cryptocurrency is very volatile, can go up and down, but these are things that, in my opinion, could definitely cause ETH to more, basically more reasons why the ETH price would go up. And, our votes in favor of a potential event like the flippening happening, where ETH actually flips Bitcoin and becomes the number one cryptocurrency by market cap. So we'll look at that here in just a few minutes. All right. So as ETH merge is going down this week, it's a massive, massive deal for the entire crypto space. Of course, there's gonna be lots of people who kind of got their fingers crossed, like saying like, "Oh, I really hope this thing works." There's always a little bit of uncertainty around the merge because you're making a critical change to a blockchain that has billions of dollars of cryptocurrency locked onto it. Again, what is the merge? Basically, we have this thing called the beacon chain, which is running over here on the side. That's just running proof of stake. You can't really use that blockchain unless you're just running a validator and validating transactions. Okay. But that's the separate engine, essentially, that runs proof of stake. And then you have the blockchain that we use now, and we're going to merge those two things together. We're going to swap out the engine to the airplane while it's flying, okay? And that has some inherent risk associated with it, okay? So that's some of the uncertainty surrounding the merge. It's sort of like building a rocket ship and then putting real human beings inside of it and then sitting there watching it on the launch pad going like, I really hope this thing goes off right. So, I mean, that's the best analogy that I can come up with. Now, we've had the merge basically rehearsed on several different test networks before we've pushed it out. So I have a pretty high degree of confidence that it's going to be successful. There's always going to be side effects. The real question is, the side effects, do they really matter? I'm sort of in the camp of I'm betting that the merge is going to be successful without any showstoppers. So that's the camp that I'm in. But there's always risk with these types of things. So when is it going to happen? Well, here's an update. Okay, so I'll put a link to this on the live chat replay or in the live chat launch. Okay, you can go check on this. This is bortle.wtf. So basically, this just projects when the merge is going to happen based on the best guess on the total terminal difficulty. So basically, how do they determine when the merge happens? Well, there's a value in the blockchain that they basically put into the code called the total terminal difficulty. And so what does that mean? Basically, mining is what's going to get turned off on Ethereum, okay? And you can measure the difficulty that it is to mine new blocks on the blockchain, okay? So you can see that on a value like Etherscan, you can see this, mining difficulty, how it changes over time. So basically, the total terminal difficulty is just a threshold that crosses. The difficulty is going to increase. And essentially, once it crosses that threshold, that's when the merge is going to happen, all right? And so we don't exactly know the precise date and time that we will arrive at that value, but that's exactly what this website does. It tries to forecast all the variables and then make a best prediction on when the merge is going to happen. So there's all kinds of things that affect that, like the electricity cost, ETH price, blah, 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 blah. But you can kind of see all the justifications for the model here. So the terminal, this value, this total terminal difficulty of this, I can't even say this number. We looked it up the other day on live stream. You can go check my Twitter to see what the actual English pronunciation of this number is. But it's expected to be Thursday, September 15th at 3 a.m. UTC. So I looked this up on a date and time converter. So if you're in the United States, I converted this to U.S. Time zones. So you can go look this up if you're not in the U.S. Or you're just in like a different time zone, maybe like European time zone or Asian time zone. Wherever you are. You can just look up dateandtime.com, and they have a world clock converter. It's pretty handy. I use this a lot when I'm trying to collaborate with other people who are spread out across the world. But I just popped in the UTC time, so that is 11 p.m. on the previous day, so Wednesday. So we're looking at Thursday in UTC time, but if you're in the United States, you got to push that back a day. So that'd be Wednesday at 11 p.m., 10 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Mountain, and then 8 p.m. Pacific time if you're out in California. Or Washington, or wherever, Oregon, or wherever you might be in Pacific time. So that's this week. If you're in the U.S., that's going to be at nighttime. So it might be while you're sleeping. You have to just wake up and find out, whether the merge happened, or maybe you'll get up in the middle of the night. But again, this could change slightly, depending on all the variables in the equation. But right now, that's what it's looking like. Probably Wednesday night in the U.S. time. So that of course is the big historic thing happening this week. But we do also have some other significant things happening that, coincidentally the same week as the merge. So we have a CPI data coming out for the U.S. So who cares? Like, why does this matter? How is this crypto related? Well, of course, we see a significant amount of correlation between cryptocurrencies and stocks, okay, pretty much in the last year, big time, right? So, we've seen a rally in cryptos over the past 7 days. We also have seen a rally in the stock market over the past 7 days. Okay, this is no coincidence. If you look at crypto's trajectory over the past, 10 months of kind of down only, basically from November, the stock market basically looks like on the exact same trajectory. So a lot of that's, they're influenced by a common factor. It's not one influencing the other. Really, it's common factor here, in my opinion. And that is basically what's going on with the central bank of the United States, the economic policy, basically just switching from one of expansion and low interest rates to one of, really contraction and tighter monetary policy, higher interest rates, contracting the money supply, all that type of stuff. Okay. And so, again, I don't pretend to be a big macroeconomics expert, stand up here and, pontificate about all my brilliant thoughts on, the macro economy. That's not really what I'm here to do, but it doesn't take a genius to see that inflation is a problem. Okay. That's really you can just look around you pretty much wherever you are and see that prices are higher, that it's one of the most common, common political issues to talk about right now, especially ahead of the midterm elections here in the United States, that, most normies are just kind of aware that the world's getting more expensive. So anyways, the central bank is really trying to fight that problem, and they're trying to kill demand. All right. So, basically trying to fix this inflation problem by killing demand and trying to bring, basically trying to attack it from that angle. So anyways, why does that, bringing that back to CPI, bringing that back to crypto, how does all this matter? Okay. So essentially, we've been tracking the progress of inflation all year. And so the whole idea is if we see inflation start to trend lower, there's a much higher likelihood that the central bank of the United States will start easing off of the tightening measures that it's really been pushing for all year, okay? Because at some point, people are expecting these measures to reverse and to resume an environment of expansion and lower interest rates than what we have now. And the best way to forecast that, at least that's kind of what the market thinks, the best way to forecast that is by watching the progress of inflation and to see if there's any sign that it has peaked previously this year. And so that's really what this inflation data is about. So basically, we look at inflation numbers on a regular cadence, okay? And the consumer price index is one of the main measures that, the central bank uses essentially to see what's happening with inflation for normal people, okay? In the United States, CPI consumer price index has a certain basket of things that consumers pay for. It doesn't include things like homes. It doesn't include home purchases, I should say. It doesn't include things like, the stock market, all that type of stuff, or crypto. And anyway, so if we start to see, the different measures of this, like core CPI, which strips out volatile food and energy components, okay? But anyways, if we see CPI numbers indicate that inflation is coming down, that's most likely a bullish thing for cryptocurrencies, for the stock market, basically all assets that have any correlation to this, whether it's a positive correlation or inverse correlation, okay? So we will see what happens. Anyways, that's going to be on, I believe it's on Wednesday, okay, which is basically the same day as the Ethereum merge. So you've got all these different, we're talking about kind of an interesting cocktail this week of events. curious confluence of external factors that we'll have to see what happens with the crypto price. So anyways, those are some of the big things to watch out for this week. Now, let's talk about the crypto prices because, the Ethereum merge, of course, there's all these people kind of looking at what could happen. All right. But going back to what I was saying before, we'll look at the price here in a second, but going back to what I was talking about before, one of the reasons that I'm so excited about the Ethereum merge, I mean, for lots and lots and lots of reasons. There's so many reasons to be excited about this, but, I do anticipate it having a long-term price impact on Ether. I'm not saying that you're going to witness that next month or even in 6 months necessarily. Now, you very well could. I'm not saying there's not financial advice. I'm not saying, hey, just buy ETH and like in 6 months you're going to be, insanely rich because the merge is going to pump the ETH price. That's not what I'm saying necessarily. What I'm saying is over the long term, this is really big because of the supply and demand implications. So we talked about the supply implications about ETH, basically having a theoretical maximum supply in the next year or so, okay? And then, going down from there because the issuance is dropping and we're burning ETH upon each transaction, okay? But also the demand side of things, more reasons to hold it. So this definitely confirms what I've been saying for months and months and months and months now on this channel. Basically, Ethereum's blockchain upgrade may lead to greater institutional adoption of Ether. This is from Bank of America. Okay, this is a story that came across CoinDesk. So basically, investors who are barred from buying tokens that run proof of work systems may be able to buy Ether after the blockchain switches to proof of stake. So this is an interesting dynamic that I haven't really commented on that much. One of them is basically saying like, hey, there's reasons why institutions want to hold this stuff, right? Because of staking, right? And because of that yield benefit on top of the price appreciation is icing on the cake. On a very blue chip asset like Ether that you don't have to put in some sketchy DeFi smart contract Ponzi scheme that could blow up on you and turn out to be a rug pull. Or if it's not, then the yield just like dries up after everybody's like completely, saturated the pool or the yield just dries up because they're just, issuing worthless tokens that eventually run out. Okay. So that's what most people's experience of DeFi is. But if you have something like ETH, where the yield is more like a bond, all right, where you have basically a predictable yield on a very long time frame, all right, with a significant amount of price appreciation, most likely over the long term, then that's a big factor why I expect institutions to get into this, especially with the security not being like a rug pull. But here's the other dynamic, which is basically buying ahead of the blockchain. Excuse me, let me restate that. Basically saying that people who are not allowed to buy proof of work coins right now because it looks like environmental issues with, environmental energy usage with proof of work could buy Ether because of proof of stake. And that's got to do with institutional policy. Okay, so that's another reason why the energy consumption for ETH is going to drop significantly. And this is one thing I haven't talked about that much. There's one thing for I'm not really going to weigh in that much on the whole environmental energy usage debate. Okay, just know that, this is really like a political can of worms. Okay. But what's the argument on the table? Basically, like you have environmental concerns about energy consumption, right? Climate change, all that type of stuff, right? And you've got two consensus protocols, proof of work and proof of stake, all right? I'm just going to tell you what the argument is on the table. The argument is that proof of work is too energy intensive, it's bad for the environment, and proof of stake just empirically uses less energy and therefore is better. And so you have people who are literally banned from using proof of work or purchasing coins related to proof of work. Now, I realize that people who are advocates of proof of work have lots of counter arguments to this. Okay, most notably that proof of work can replace things that use way more energy than the actual proof of work system itself would use. Again, I'm not trying to open up a political can of worms here. I'm just trying to tell you the arguments on the table and what people's respective positions on that are. So my sort of view on this is, regardless of where you fall in this spectrum, there's less friction for sure pushing a proof of stake network with this. Like, you can basically just sidestep the entire issue by using proof of stake instead. Okay, you don't even have to sit here and waste your time on these types of arguments after this upgrade has happened, and this is a pretty good example of that. Okay, which could bring in more institutional adoption, increase the demand for ETH, having a positive impact on the price over time. So now let's look at the crypto markets, because there's the question is the merge trade still on? Are people still accumulating ETH ahead of the merge? We've only got a couple days left, right? Or has the merge trade already played out, essentially, where essentially people have already sort of bought the rumor and are selling the fact, and they're really front running that, right? It's the whole idea is like, you want to buy ETH ahead of the merge, and right before the merge happens, like, sell it. But then you have everybody else who's thinking like, well, if that's what everybody else is doing, I should even front run those people, and so I should sell ahead of that. So, that could have been what played out here. It could be also what you're saying play out here. But there is a widely held view that the ETH price is lagging the Bitcoin price because people are basically rotating out of ETH ahead of the merge into Bitcoin. Because if you've been watching the crypto markets over the past several days, you might have even noticed this. All right, so ETH to BTC ratio has been going up significantly for quite some time. Okay, so this is the Ether price relative to the Bitcoin price. All right, so you can see sort of what it's done here. And it's peaked. So basically, ETH has been outperforming Bitcoin significantly over the past several weeks, and that has kind of stopped. Okay, so Bitcoin, printed a pretty big candle over the past several days. We're up. We went down to like 18K. We were in the 18s for a little while, and then we have sort of rocketed back up to 22K. And now that's all pretty relative. Like, nobody, if you tell people that we rocketed from $18,000 to $22,000 on a Bitcoin, a year ago, that would have sounded like horrible numbers, right? It's all relative. But yeah, that has definitely happened. So one view on this essentially is that people are sort of cashing out of ETH ahead of the merge and rotating into Bitcoin. So, there could be a few reasons for this. One of them, for sure, is just trying to front run the trade. Okay, if the expected behaviors that people are going to buy ETH ahead of the merge and sell it right before or right after, then you're just getting ahead of all those people. And if you want to stay in crypto and not hold a stable coin that's going to exist on top of the Ethereum blockchain, then where do you go? You go to Bitcoin, right? And stay in Bitcoin as a much more stable thing, not necessarily in terms of price, but just in terms of sound technology, while Ethereum is about to undergo a very uncertain change. Now, me personally, what am I doing? I'm not really changing anything, right? I'm just still holding my ETH through the merge. My bet is that it's going to work out. Okay, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. That's what I'm doing. So, again, not financial advice, and I'm not telling you to do that. That's just what I'm doing. So, but there are going to be people who are like, hey, I don't know about this merge thing. Like I was talking about before, it's sort of like watching a rocket on a launch pad with human beings inside of it, all right? And, with ETH, it's sort of like, you've got skin in the game, sort of like, do I want to be on that rocket ship while it's on the launch pad? Do I want to, put my brother and my cousins on that rocket ship, right before it goes off? You're really just you are the test pilot. So I think for that reason, you're going to see some people like, hey, I don't want to be on that rocket ship when the bomb goes off. Okay, so I'm going to take all my funds and I'm going to put them into Bitcoin, and I'm going to hold them on the Bitcoin chain in a Bitcoin wallet off of a cryptocurrency exchange offline, because that's the safest place. Because what else am I going to do? Put it in a stable coin? Okay, that stable coin issuer is going to be locked up into the Ethereum network during the merge as well. If there's any kind of catastrophe that goes down, that stablecoin issuer is probably going to have a nightmare of a time as well. I want to be in the safest possible place. I might experience some volatility in the cryptocurrency itself, but in terms of being able to actually access my money and get it back, then Bitcoin might be the safest place to do that. And I think that's the mentality of some people that is playing out right now with Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe people aren't doing that with all their money, right? Maybe they're just taking some of their chips off the table and then moving into a safer place while this merge event takes place. And so I think that's one of the reasons you could see essentially, ETH start to lag in price a little bit and see Bitcoin start to appreciate in price a little bit. So that being said, the entire market is mostly green. All right. So why is that? Well, I think we're just seeing correlation with what's going on with the stock market. All right. S&P 500, major stock indices, entire space has basically been up for the past 5 days. All right. High correlation with crypto. We'll see what the market anticipates for this week with CPI data coming out. Again, we'll see what that is. If we actually see inflation start to come down. And if it is, let's look at it this way. Let's look at some possible outcomes on the table. My bias is definitely towards one of growth over the long term. My bias is definitely more in the direction of the doomers. My bias is that things are not going to be as bad as what the doomers are saying. Okay. Part of the reason for that is just realizing that the internet sort of runs off of, fear, and the internet runs off of engagement, right? And fear is highly engaging, right? It's like the insider sayings among media people. It's like, if it bleeds, it leads. If it enrages, it engages. Like those are the dark truths of how people command your attention on the internet. And if people can keep you scared, then they can keep you watching. So, that's how I see a lot of this stuff getting played out, right? So my bias is that the truth is not that, right? That is a distortion of the actual reality that is in front of us. And sort of my bias is that things are almost never as bad as the doomers say, and so that the worst of this could be behind us, all right, for that reason. So if that's the case, if the Ethereum merge is successful, if we do start to see the impacts of the Ethereum price, like I was talking about, sort of play out, maybe even slowly, right? Maybe not all at once, that we could see, the worst behind us. Like especially if inflation starts to come down, like in many ways, this could be a perfect storm of a good week for crypto, right? Let's say the merge is successful. Let's say CPI is going down. Let's say even start to see some of this price action in Bitcoin hold and actually start to see some type of trend established in the right direction. It could be the beginning of something new. And I've talked about for some time now that the ETH merge could be a big factor in kicking off a new bull market in crypto. It's just a possibility on the table. Again, don't not making any guarantees here, not any financial advice. But if we're talking about what is within the realm of possibility, right? Nobody really knows the future. Nobody knows the future. Anybody who claims to say this is exactly what's going to happen probably is not being straightforward with you. Okay, I will never claim to know exactly what the future is on this channel, but I will always talk about things that are likely to happen and what are things that are not likely to happen. And so where can we sort of try to figure out where the puck's headed based off on a ranking of those scenarios. So an example, is ETH going to go to $10,000 tomorrow? Probably not, right? Is Bitcoin going to be adopted as the global reserve currency like next year or ever? I put that way on the, probably not going to happen type, lot of probabilities, but ETH basically becoming an institutional grade asset, starting to appreciate in price based upon, economic factors that are going to happen with the merge, potentially flip Bitcoin, start to see organic price appreciation, kick off a new bull market. Like that's way more in the cards than some of these other long shot things that people have, on their bingo card for crypto, right? So, that's kind of how I think about these things. And so that's one of the big reasons that this is a historic week for all of crypto. It's been governments run off of fear. I don't like fear. Yeah, totally. Somebody says, I hear rumors that USDC trading may have issues during the merge. It might. So one final thing that I want to leave you all with to look forward to is this. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. I've actually run kind of long today. I didn't get to as many questions as I wanted to. We could do, if you got questions that didn't get answered today, definitely show up tomorrow. We'll try to go through those. So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps the videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. And, if you're as fast at this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You get on my YouTube homepage. You can find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to master blockchain step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You have to be an expert to get started today. I help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time.